in this video we will talk about the tax reduction from 20 to 1%, specifically using the Georgian tax system. And by Georgia I mean Georgia the country and not Georgia the state in the US. A quick introduction about myself. I was nomading for the last 4 years, and I have the entrepreneurial background with multiple businesses, and now I'm focusing on helping people as a life and business coach. A very tiny remark, and this is important: this video is not a legal advice. Please make your own research always. So, why Georgia? Why we are talking about Georgia? And the reason why we are talking about that is Georgia is super friendly for digital nomads. And what do we mean when we say that? So first, it's about opening a bank account. So some countries just don't want your money, or they have the super strict money laundering laws that just making impossible to just put some amount of cash to the account without filling insane amount of documents. That makes especially sense for people who has online businesses in multiple locations, or crypto entrepreneurs. So Georgia is super easy in this, and you can not only go to Georgia by yourself, buy a SIM card with a local number that will be connected to your passport, and then go to the local bank and open an account easily, but you can also do it remotely. And if you would like to know more about that, just let me in the comments. But for now, we just move forward with knowing that Georgia is super friendly when we are talking about opening a bank account, so to actually put the money there. And the first example will be about becoming a resident. So you could officially pay tax there, and to become one in Georgia you need to spend over 183 days. This is a quite common requirement. So after that you will be considered as an official tax resident in Georgia. And Georgia has a flat rate for personal tax. So personal income tax is 20%. So it's kind of not very low. It might be lower than some other countries, but still quite a lot. And it also has rules about the Territorial Tax Regime, which means it separates the worldwide income and the local income, which means that everything that you made in Georgia is taxed, and everything you've made outside Georgia is not taxed. So when we tell that worldwide income tax is 0%, it's kind of yes, but no. So, and what do we mean by that is that when you work online and you're based in Georgia, for example, you're a freelancer or you have online business and you're involved as a CEO in your business, then according to the law, you're basically creating value in the country. Even like you have an international business, an online business, or your customer are located in other countries, even if you don't transfer your income to Georgian bank account, according to the law, it's a value that created in Georgia. So the tricky part is it's super clear when you work with customers in Georgia. This is like local income. So the gray area here is when you work with the companies that are not based in Georgia and you're not transferring money to Georgian bank account. So this becomes a gray area. Because like Georgia cannot like fully control the income to your foreign bank accounts. And this is something that you might think about. And then again, if you are not living in Georgia and you're having the online business or freelancing and you want to use the Georgian tax system, that's totally fine. Then the worldwide income will be considered as a real one. So, and about some of the things I cannot speak freely on YouTube, so be sure you subscribe on our secret newsletter where we talk and where I can tell more interesting ways to use the tax systems. So if you live in Georgia and you want to be on the safe side, in that case, just use the special tax regime that they have for entrepreneurs. So you will just need to register as a sole entrepreneur in Georgia. So if you live there, and they have a super loyal terms. So if you make as a sole entrepreneur with this registered entity in Georgia, and you get like less than 11,000, then you pay like zero tax. And if you get less than $180,000, this is a yearly revenue. This will be considered as a small business and you will be taxed only 1%. So it might be useful for sole entrepreneurs and for freelancers. 1% is much better than the most countries can provide you, you know. And by 1%, I mean it's 1% of the revenue. So you will pay 1% of your income and not from profit. One thing to consider by registering this entity in Georgia, you will be operating in your personal name, which means it will be not a corporate entity. And for some of the enterprises, it might be considered risky because you will be like fully responsible for everything that your company and you as a fully responsible representative person is doing. That might be risky in some cases where you just want to create a separate entity and separate the business risk from your personal life. So again, this regime is working for tax residents, so for people who are living in Georgia. And there is another interesting opportunity for high net worth individuals. And by high net worth individuals, Georgia means people whose net worth exceeds $1.1 million or annual income exceeded $73,000 per year. And yeah, it might be again a freelancer or solo entrepreneur. And for those people, you don't need to be a resident. You don't need to be in Georgia for half a year for this 183 days to become a tax resident. And this is very, very interesting. It's because in other countries, especially in the countries like US or countries in European Union, for those amount of money, you will pay more tax, and this is something that you can consider without spending too much time in Georgia. Next topic that we need to cover here is when you live abroad, so you don't live in Georgia. And that's where two countries can see you as a tax resident. So even you live abroad, so for example, you have a French, German passport, any European Union country passport, or United States passport and citizenship, and you don't live there, but those countries might still consider you as a tax resident, which means you need to pay tax there as well. So especially if you're a US citizen, be careful, don't mess with the IRS. This is super dangerous, and it might lead to a big trouble in your life. So be sure that you follow all the regulations that IRS has. And one thing to keep in mind beside tax is also the social contributions, social payments that can be tricky, especially for European Union citizens. So when we talk about digital nomad life and digital nomad finances, the double taxation is a high risk that you need to keep attention on. And general recommendation that you might find for the nomads is that it's important to avoid permanent residencies in the big entities like European Union or United States. So the moment you become resident, and I mean like you rented or you bought a house, so you registered, you got your tax number, and at this moment you're on the hook. And at that moment you will be taxed. Even if you will leave the country, it will be much more difficult for you to prove that you already paid tax in another country. It will be much more difficult for you if you have a residency in one of the big entities. And it's okay to have a citizenship, but in European Union, and not to have the residency, not to be registered, not to have an address, and it's much easier than to have a residency, to be registered there, because this will make you much more problems to prove that you actually already paid tax in another country, or you are a tax resident in another country. And for United States citizens, it's even more complicated there are some exceptions that you might use as a digital nomad as United States citizens to avoid double taxation. Let me know if this is interesting, and I will definitely cover it in the secret letter, in the secret newsletter that we have. Subscribe, you can find the link down below. And going back to Georgia, the question is it actually safe to keep your money in Georgia? So you have an income like 20, 50, 100, 1 million per year, and you start transferring money to Georgia. And then what happens? Is it safe? So this is the big question. And some people might say, like, Georgia, no way I will put my money there. Because if you didn't know, the current territory, 20% is occupied by Russia for like more than, I think, more than 8 years for now. And this is kind of a big risk, you know. If Russia decide to take over the whole country, then your hard-earned or easy-earned money probably will be gone. And of course, Georgia has support from European Union, from United States, but yeah, it's kind of a risk. What can I say is don't put all your eggs in one basket. For online entrepreneurs, freelancers, digital nomads, having bank accounts in multiple countries is a must. So again, there are some topics that I'm not able to cover on YouTube because of the legal reasons, but if you're interested in enjoying the tax-free life and want to know more secrets about that, subscribe to our newsletter and yeah, enjoy the freedom. Thank you.